The government is under fire for the funding of a drug rehab program run by a firm called Hard to Reach, which is in turn run by some members of the mongrel mob. The Prime Minister signed off on the nearly $3 million going towards the scheme. For more, Jacinda Ardern is with us this morning. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning, Ryan.
Can we start with Harry Tam? Harry Tam says we should trust him because you trust him. Do you trust him?
We've funded an organisation that in 2020 ran a pilot program that had demonstrably good results. That program was then supported by health, the local police, corrections and others, and put forward in order for it to continue. Some of those results included there was no dropout, there was a 100% pass rate on drug testing and 80% compliance with probation and court-ordered requirements. So it was funded based on evidence, Ryan, and that is why it is being supported. If it does not continue to produce results, then of course you change its funding in the future.
A lot of that comes down to trust, though, doesn't it, with the results? Do you trust Harry Tam?
I don't need to trust that individual person. I need to look at the results that were produced in 2020. And I place actually my weight on the local police who supported the program. That's where the basis of this funding, it came through from the support across agencies, health, including local police. That's why it's being funded. But what I will push back on, Ryan, there's been some suggestion here that because it's a treatment program, that yes, has had people involved in gangs who are part of the treatment. They have methamphetamine addiction, and the program seeks to end that methamphetamine addiction. The idea that that somehow implicitly means that we support gangs, I just reject that.
No, absolutely.
I really do.
And nobody here is making that
$500 million
accusation,
worth
Prime
of
Minister.
assets
100% agree with you. And no one here is
some
making...
have.
Yeah, but certainly not this morning here on this program, Prime Minister. We've just got a couple of specific questions that people really would like some answers to. Was Harry Tam on the national gang list, and were you aware of him being on the national gang list when you signed this off?
No. I signed off a program alongside others. This is just to give you a bit of context for the way it works, Ryan. Proceeds of crime, essentially the funding that we, as the Crown, received through the seizure of assets, $500 million worth over the past several years from gangs. Some of that goes into programs that we designate to reduce drug harm. So applications are put in by different agencies for programs.
Sorry,
this
Prime
was
Minister.
One of the applications.
I'm loath to interrupt you, but I am just conscious of the fact that we are short on time. Are you saying Harry Tam isn't currently on the national gang list?
So the detail
is he on the list or not?
The detail that I get is the organisation, and that other ministers get is the organisation that's made an application, not individual directors, of which there are a couple.
So were you even aware, when you signed off on this, were you even aware that Harry Tam or that any mongrel mob member was so involved?
As I said right from the beginning, Ryan, it is a program that works with gang members. Yes,
but were you aware that they were involved with running it?
It was clear that there was involvement of those who were associated, yes, in order to reach. The organisation's called Hard to Reach.
Okay.
But again, Ryan, what I would point to here is that the idea seems to be that our ability to access into addressing drug-related issues will mean that there are people with gang affiliations involved. The question here is, do we simply say no one who's had an affiliation will ever access a drug treatment program?
Okay.
Because that's the line here. The other point I'd make...
Yeah.
The other point I'd make is that this is a program that has been funded by previous governments.
Yeah,
this
100%.
Is not new.
No,
the style
we're aware
of program
that too.
Has been funded
Sonny
before.
Smith, the mongrel mob president, the notorious chapter, his house and garden will be cleaned and tidied up by those who are taking part in the program. And he signed off invitations to the launch of the program. Did you know that he was given a suspended sentence of 6 months after police found a weapon in his home, according to the New Zealand Herald, after a search there in February? Were you aware of that when you signed it off?
No, of course, Ryan. No, Ryan, of course not. As I say, the ministers who sign off these applications, first there is a panel of agencies that consider them. Corrections, police, local health. They're the ones that go through every single program in detail and then make a recommendation to us.
Does it change your mind
on receiving
knowing this?
that application?
Does it change the way...
receiving that application...
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking
I made
is anything...
extra inquiries...
Is there anything you've seen since this came out that makes you think, oh, maybe we should relook at it?
Oh, look, there's no question that whenever we fund a program, it's not simply a matter of the fact it's funded and then there's no attention paid to it. Of course there is. It has to produce results. We want people to stop being victimised by crimes committed by those who are on methamphetamine. We want supply of methamphetamine in our communities to stop. We want gangs to stop engaging in criminal activity. We have, of course, that is why we have funded the police to create additional numbers around organised crime.
Yeah.
The question that seems to be the case here is how do you fund programs that have people who have been affiliated with gangs and have drug issues?
Totally.
Do you support programs where people who have had gang-related pasts or not?
Yeah.
My argument would be, if we want
Prime Minister,
to end the methamphetamine trade, then we do need to reach those who are hard to reach and who may have been involved previously. That does not mean we change our strong position on methamphetamine.
100%. No, we understand that, Prime Minister. I think most of New Zealand would agree with you on that. What I'm asking, is there anything that you have seen since this became public that makes you question, including what I've just told you, that makes you question whether the money's gone to the right place? Because there are plenty of organisations who can do this kind of stuff. Is there anything you've seen that makes you question that?
Actually, I think that's the issue. There aren't a lot who directly, and this is why this organisation is called Hard to Reach. It is working directly with those who previously would not be reached or would not be accessing drug programs. And that's why that organisation exists. So I don't know that there are that many working in this space, Ryan, but it's not simply a matter that this is a program that's been funded for a number of years. That does not mean that we will not keep a close eye on their reporting, on the way the program's being administered and the outcomes of it.
All right.
In funding it, we already took the view of local police. We will continue to take their view, including whether or not individual participants are following their court orders and drug testing in order to see whether or not it is producing the results.
Let's talk about those results that you're speaking of, Prime Minister, and how successful this has been. Michael Wood, one of your ministers, came on this program on Friday and said it's been 100% successful. What does that actually mean? Because I've been contacted by some rehab clinic operators who say that a 100% success rate sounds frankly fanciful. Another said, in my wildest dreams. How certain are you on that number?
I'm happy. So you would have heard me say that they had a 100% drug pass rate for the period that participants were involved. So no one is claiming anything statistically magical with this particular program.
Do you know how many of them are clean now?
If I could just finish, Ryan. It was a pilot in 2020 because, of course, they didn't have at that time, as I understand, the support to run the program longer than a short pilot in 2020. So whilst those who were involved at that time had a pass rate on their drug testing, as I said, 80% compliance with probation and court-ordered requirements, and ongoing involvement in the program through its course. But it was a pilot. It was for a short, I believe, 7-week period. Now, on the recommendation of health and local police, they're able to run the program longer. It is based on a program, though, that was previously run under John Key's methamphetamine action plan.
Yeah, we've got that, Prime Minister.
As I recall, involved gang members at that time as well.
So I just want to be clear. When you say that it's been very successful, it's been successful in stopping people from using methamphetamine in the time that they're in the program. You so far have no data on how long it's been effective after they've left.
I have not made any claim beyond what I just read out to you now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ryan.
That's interesting, Prime Minister.
I've tried to provide all of the context around that. It was a short pilot because, of course, if they're not funded to run for longer, then they're unable to produce results for longer. It is fair to say that, yes, anyone who works in this space will know that producing, results in the space of drug addiction, particularly those who have been through corrections, is very hard. The gold standard success rate is usually fairly low. And so we do need to measure the program against that bar.
All right. Prime Minister, let's move on to talk about COVID.